After the first counterattack, the white prison ship changed. At first, no one noticed it directly. The Alliance was too busy counting the living, repairing the roads, and writing the names of the dead into records that would not be allowed to disappear. The 10th safe zone still had a torn sky. The 11th still had summoners waking from severed synchronization. The 13th still smelled of underground water and burned roots. But deep inside the white prison ship, a second hold opened. Xiaomin felt it before anyone else. The half-door trembled beneath her hand, and the wooden grain on its surface shifted like waves under moonlight. Beyond it, the ship that had once been only a rescue route revealed another corridor. Longer and heavier than before. Iron lamps lit themselves one by one. Their light did not warm the air. It gave it weight. Su Wanning stood beside her. Eyes narrowed. That is new. It opened because the Alliance acknowledged the ship, Xiaomin whispered. Not just Lin Jin. Not just the 9th safe zone. 3 cities accepted the route with their own authority. The white prison ship had carried refugees, medicine, messages, and desperate promises. Now it had been recognized by human order. That recognition became a key. Lin Jin entered the second hold with the 7th team behind him. Qin Yu still wore repair bands around the place where his right arm should have been. He looked at the dark corridor and asked, "Can we fight with it?" Shen Qing did not answer him. She extended a thin line of thunder along the walls, binding everyone to a return path in case the ship decided to test them. Zhou Zhan checked shield markings on the floor. He Shan memorized the exits. Song Weiyu listened to the silence, searching for borrowed voices. The corridor ended at an empty berth. No ship rested there, and yet every person present understood that something could. Bai Shuyuan arrived with a stack of fresh Alliance records and stopped at the threshold. His expression changed only slightly, but Lin Jin caught it. Central had no file on this, Bai said. Good, Qin Yu muttered. Then maybe it is useful. In the berth, ash-white lines rose from the floor. They formed a frame of ribs. Not human ribs, but the bones of a vessel. The white prison ship was not simply expanding. It was learning how to become heavier in the world. Su Wanning stepped forward. The ship answered her. Her own boat spirit had always been quiet. A power of crossing, sheltering, and paying the price of passage. Now the second hold reached for that spirit. Not to steal it, but to divide its burden. Su Wanning understood the offer instantly. And so did Lin Jin. No, he said. She looked back. You do not know what I am about to say. I know the shape of it. She smiled faintly. Then you know we may need it. The second ship bone could form only if Su Wanning allowed her boat spirit to split a part of its core. The benefit was enormous. The white prison ship would gain a second structural anchor, able to carry not only people and supplies, but battlefield pressure. The risk was just as clear. If the split failed, Su Wanning could lose part of her own soul root. She might survive and never again hear the call of crossing. No one spoke for a while. Outside the ship, cities needed roads. Inside the ship, one person was being asked to become a road. Lin Jin said, "The alliance was not formed so that the people nearest to me could be spent first." Su Wanning's voice remained soft. "And it was not formed so that I could stand behind everyone else and call that kindness." She placed one hand on the ash-white frame. "I will not give the ship my whole spirit. I will give it a bone. A bone is not a corpse. A bone is structure." Xiaomin stepped closer. "I can help hold the half-door." Shen Qingyi's thunder spread into a circle. "I will hold the boundary." Zhou Zhan set 3 shield seals into the floor. "I will prevent backlash." Qin Yu flexed his left hand. "I will punch anything that looks like it wants to eat us." Su Wanning laughed once, and the tension in the hold became almost human. Then the second shipbone formed. It began as pain, Because power that becomes structure must pass through the body of the one who offers it. Su Wanning's face went white. The boat spirit behind her blurred. Then separated a thin line of pale light. Xiaomin held the half door until her fingers bled. Shen Qing pinned the boundary. Lin Jin stood before the zero-life realm inside himself and refused to let it interfere. This had to be given, not taken. When the bone settled into the frame, the entire white prison ship rang. The sound traveled through the ash passage to the 10th, 11th, and 13th safe zones. People in shelters heard a low bell beneath their feet. Wounded soldiers opened their eyes. For a moment, every route connected by the Alliance became visible as a thin white line across the dark. Then the third chain on the chain tower answered. Lin Junyue, sealed in the tower, opened his eyes. For 12 breaths, he could leave. That number would have sounded small to anyone who had never stood beside a man like him. To the 7th team, 12 breaths was a lifetime if spent correctly. The tower door opened with a sound like old mountains moving. Lin Junyue stepped out. He did not go far. The chain still ran from his back into the tower, and every breath outside strained it. But he stood under the red-stained sky of the 9th safe zone, looked toward the Alliance routes, and gave the white prison ship a gift. Not power. Blade intent. Gray ash gathered around his fingers. Rough and quiet. Nothing like the bright violence of red prison fire or the cold authority of the zero-life realm. It was a human blade intent, tempered by restraint, failure, duty, and the willingness to keep standing after victory had become impossible. He sent it into the second ship bone. The white prison ship accepted it. In the ash-named cemetery, another change began. The cemetery had once held the names of the 9th safe zone's dead. Now, because 3 cities had fought together, it opened its borders. Names from the 10th, 11th, and 13th arrived through verified records, family testimony, damaged tags, and voices that still shook when they spoke. Song Weiyu supervised the migration. Not one name enters as a number, she said. The officers obeyed. Each name was carried with at least one human trace. A duty post, a last message, a favorite meal, a debt, a joke, a witness, a scar. The cemetery did not become larger because of death alone. It became deeper because memory refused to be filed flat. The Star-Lord had tried to erase names. The Alliance answered by giving the dead more places to be remembered. By dawn, the white prison ship's second hold was complete. The half door no longer opened only like a narrow rescue passage. It could now anchor a battlefield route, absorb pressure from collapsing boundaries, and carry allied force without immediately tearing the one who guided it apart. Chen Beixuan looked at the final readings and did not hide his satisfaction. This is no longer only a ship, he said. Bai Shuyuan updated the classification after a long pause. Strategic level vessel. Qin Yu read it over his shoulder. Too polite. What would you call it? Qin Yu looked through the half door, where white corridors now ran like ribs through darkness. A warship. No one corrected him. Lin Jin stood before the second hold and felt the change settle through the Alliance. The white prison ship had not become a throne. It had become infrastructure for resistance. That difference mattered more than any weapon it carried. Outside the walls, red star marks still watched from the rain-soaked earth. Inside, the Alliance had gained a vessel that could move hope like ammunition. For the first time since the Star-Lord turned its gaze toward the world, humanity had something that could answer not only with survival, but with reach. The white prison ship had become a warship, and that should have felt like progress. Instead, Lin Jin felt the edge of a cliff beneath his own feet. Every battle against the Star-Lord pushed him closer to a larger realm. The nameless soul envoy, the white bone presence, the mirror fate, and red prison fire all stirred inside the zero-life realm as if hearing a summons from below the world. Power gathered around him even when he tried to stand still. That was the danger. The Star-Lord could be fought by strength, but it could also feed on the moment when strength stopped asking permission. In the depth of Lin Jin's inner world, the ground cracked. The zero-life realm was not a palace. It had never been kind enough to become something so simple. It was an impossible boundary where dead rules, living wills, and forbidden summons stood beside one another without belonging to the same order. Now a white ravine opened across its spiritual wasteland. At the bottom of the ravine lay a blade. It had no owner. It was not silver, not bone, not fire. It was pale like moonlight seen on the back of a knife. No hand held it, but it pointed toward Lin Jin as if it had been waiting for him to admit something. He stood at the edge of the ravine. The nameless soul envoy appeared behind him, quiet as a bell before it rings. The white bone presence watched from the dark. Red prison fire burned in the distance. Impatient and hungry, the blade spoke without a mouth. If you pick me up to win faster, you are not qualified. Lin Jin looked down at it for a long time. Then what qualifies me? The answer came as a cut of cold light across the ravine. To know when not to cut. Outside, the Alliance base continued training. Qin Yu fought with his left fist until 3 reinforced posts broke. Shen Qing adjusted thunder boundaries across mock city walls. Xiaoman practiced half-door openings under false echo interference. Su Wanning moved slowly, still pale from giving the second ship bone, but her eyes remained steady. When Lin Jin opened his eyes in the training field, everyone noticed the change, not because his pressure increased, because it became cleaner. The fourth summoning circle appeared beneath him with no roar, no explosion, no desperate hunger. A thin white line drew itself across the ground. Then another. The lines formed a blade-shaped gate. From it stepped a woman in plain white armor, her hair bound high, her eyes colder than moonlit steel. She carried no dramatic banner and offered no bow. "Moon-white blade," she said. "I cut the border between outer enemy and inner desire." Qin Yu tilted his head. "That sounds inconvenient." "It is." Lin Jin studied the new summon. "You came from the same soul source?" "From the part you keep pretending is caution when it is actually fear," she answered. The field went very quiet. Qin Yu slowly smiled. "I like her." Moon White Blade ignored him and faced Lin Jin. "I have a condition." "Of course you do. Before you borrow red prison fire at full force, I judge whether you are crossing the line. If I say no, you do not use it." Red prison fire flared inside the zero-life realm, furious at being discussed like a tool with rules. Lin Jin felt its heat press against his ribs. There were battles where red prison fire could end everything quickly. There were disasters where one full release might save a district, a road, 1,000 people, and there were traps built exactly for that temptation. "If I refuse?" Lin Jin asked. Moon White Blade placed one hand on the hilt at her side. "Then I cut you before you cut the world." Bai Shuyuan, watching from the edge of the field, made a note with unusual satisfaction. Lin Jin accepted. The condition entered the Alliance record, not as a weakness, but as a safeguard. Some commanders disliked it. Some wanted the strongest weapon available with no hesitation. Chen Beixuan listened to the arguments and ended them with one sentence. "An uncontrollable victory is another disaster with better timing." The Star-Lord seemed to hear. The next battlefield was designed like a gift. Star marks opened along a distant front where civilian shelters were already clear. Allied forces were in position, and enemy puppets gathered around a core so exposed that every tactical model reached the same conclusion. Full red prison fire would destroy the formation within minutes. Too easy. Everyone knew it. That did not make it less tempting. The Alliance needed a victory. The safe zones needed proof that the Star-Lord could be pushed back again. Soldiers were exhausted. Civilians had slept under cracked skies for too many nights. A fast wind could restore morale across the entire ash passage. Lin Jin stood at the front line and felt red prison fire laugh. Moon White Blade appeared beside him. No, she said. The word fell like a blade between him and the battlefield. Qin Yu looked at the enemy formation. Are you sure? Yes. Shen Qingyi's thunder flickered. The star marks are arranged too cleanly. They want heat. Zhou Zhan expanded the shield projection and found it. Beneath the obvious core, a second pattern waited. If red prison fire fully ignited the first target, the heat would activate a star signature mirror and transmit Lin Jin's violent output into 3 nearby alliance routes. The casualties would not come from the enemy. They would come from his success. Lin Jin closed his hand around his blade. The fast cut was forbidden. So they fought slowly. That was harder. Qin Yu led the left assault, breaking puppet formations by hand. Shen Qing pinned star marks one by one instead of burning the whole field. Xiaoman kept the half-door narrow, refusing every request to widen the route until Song Weiyu verified the voices behind it. He Shan dragged wounded soldiers out under shield cover. Su Wanning guided the White Prison warship through pressure pockets without allowing it to ram the center. Lin Jin cut only what Moon White Blade allowed him to cut. He hated it, not because she was wrong. Because restraint hurt more when the correct answer was obvious and too dangerous to use. The battle took hours instead of minutes. They lost equipment, ground, and blood. But the hidden star signature mirror never activated. The alliance routes remained intact. By the end, the enemy core cracked under coordinated human pressure rather than one overwhelming forbidden flame. Moon White Blade looked at Lin Jin. You wanted the fast victory. Yes. You refused it. Yes. Then you may live long enough to deserve stronger power. Before Lin Jin could answer, the sky above the star-marked sea opened one eye. Not a pattern. Not rain. Not an apostle. A true fragment of will. The 9th Star-Lord looked down. Everyone on the battlefield felt it. Soldiers dropped to one knee. Instruments failed. The air became thin, as if the world had become a room where something far too large had leaned close to inspect a crack in the floor. Lin Jin raised his head. The eye did not speak in words at first. It measured the White Prison warship, the Ash Passage, the Alliance fire channels, the Cemetery of Names, the new summon standing beside him. Then a meaning pressed into every mind at once. Humanity has learned to connect. The pressure increased. Then humanity will be judged as one. The eye closed. The battlefield did not relax. It simply remembered how to breathe. Lin Jin understood the next phase before any report arrived. The Star-Lord would no longer test isolated cities, individual routes, or single commanders. It had seen the Alliance as a whole. It would descend against the whole. Moon White Blade stood beside him, pale edge catching the red light. Next time, she said, you will want every fire you have. Lin Jin looked toward the 9th safe zone, where walls, people, names, and fragile trust waited under a sky that was already beginning to seal itself for war. Then next time, he answered, we make sure Wanting is not the one in command. Quote, the 9th safe zone sealed the sky before sunrise. Every wall anchor opened. Every summoner stationed along the city boundary gave a portion of power to the formation beneath. The streets, blue thunder, gray ash, pale bone, mirror light, sea pressure, shield patterns, and the cold white line of Moon White Blade moved through the city's veins. The ceiling array rose from the walls like an enormous transparent bowl. For a few breaths, it looked strong enough. Then the Star-Lord arrived. It did not descend all at once. Half a body tore through the boundary between the door behind the world and the human realm. The shape was impossible to hold in the eye. Sometimes it looked like a giant crowned in red constellations. Sometimes it looked like an ocean of eyes wearing a human outline. Sometimes it was only a pressure that made every person remember how small cities were when seen. From above, the ninth Star-Lord placed one hand against the sealed sky. The whole safe zone sank 3 inches. Buildings groaned. Shelter lights flickered. Children cried in underground rooms on the wall. Soldiers bit their tongues until blood kept them conscious. Chen Beixuan opened the Alliance fire channel. All participating cities, he said. Voice steady as iron. This is the 9th safe zone. We are under direct Star-Lord descent pressure. Fire coordination begins now. The 10th safe zone answered first, 10th batteries online. 11th curtain lances online. 13th underground pressure cannons online. Then more voices joined. 5 cities. 8 border fortresses. Mobile artillery units. Half-repaired towers that should not have been able to fire and did anyway. The Ash Passage carried targeting data through the White Prison warship, and Bai Shuyuan recorded every unauthorized contribution with a face that dared history to call it treason. Chen Beixuan raised one hand. Fire. Humanity opened on the sky. The first barrage struck the Star-Lord's descending arm and shattered into red light. The second found a weak seam where Moon Whiteblade's line had marked the difference between projection and true body. The third carried Shen Qingyi's boundary thunder and burned a blue wound across the constellation. Crown. The Star-Lord looked at them. The meaning of that gaze was almost gentle. Enough. One star mark fell from its palm. It passed through 3 artillery lines, 7 shield layers, and half the ceiling array before Lin Jin intercepted it. He did not use full red prison fire. Not yet. Moon Whiteblade stood within his inner boundary, judging every impulse. The zero-life realm roared at him to open wider. Red prison fire demanded release. The nameless soul envoy rang like a warning bell. The white bone presence lowered its head. Mirror fate unfolded futures in which one faster choice saved the wall and destroyed the alliance. Root behind it. Lin Jin cut the star mark with gray ashblade intent instead. It hurt. The impact drove him through one wall platform and into the stone below. Qin Yu reached him first, using his left hand to drag aside a fallen beam. Still alive? Lin Jin coughed blood. Unfortunately for the Star-Lord. Good. Qin Yu turned and punched a star mark puppet off the wall hard enough to break the thing into rain. The Star-Lord pressed again. This time the ceiling sky cracked. Xiaoman screamed as the half-door tried to open in every direction at once. False voices flooded the route. Commanders requesting evacuation. Children begging. Lin Jin ordering retreat. Su Wanning telling her to widen the door. Song Weiyu seized the record table and began cutting lies from the channel as fast as they arrived. Do not answer clean voices. She shouted. Only confirmed wait. Only human disorder. Su Wanning guided the White Prison warship beneath the cracking sky. The second shipbone rang with strain. The vessel could now carry battlefield pressure. But no one had promised it could carry the hand of a Star-Lord. Lin Junyue left the chain tower for 12 breaths. He spent all 12 on one cut. The old chain stretched behind him like a line drawn between eras. He stepped onto the wall, raised his ash blade, and struck the Star-Lord's descending pressure where Chen Beixuan's artillery had opened a wound. The cut did not sever the Star-Lord. It bought one breath. Humanity used it. Every city in the Alliance fired again. This time the barrage did not scatter. Zhou Zan's shield calculations held the lines together. Shen Qingyi's thunder gave them boundary. Xiaoman's half-door and the White Prison warship carried the timing. Song Weiyu protected the identity locks so no city fired under a borrowed name. Su Wanning took the recoil into the second shipbone and stayed standing only because he shone. braced the vessel's anchor with both hands. Lin Jin rose during that breath. The Star-Lord's eye turned fully toward him. It offered no bargain. That almost made it worse. Enemies who bargain admit that human choice matters. The Star-Lord judged from above choice. To it, Lin Jin was a boundary error. A forbidden realm pretending to belong to the human world. The zero-life realm opened inside him. Not as a throne, as a border. For the first time, Lin Jin understood it clearly. The zero-life realm was not Central's weapon. Not the Star-Lord's mirror. Not a royal court for dead powers. And not a private kingdom where he could hide from consequences. It was the place where he decided what would not be surrendered. Moon White Blade looked at him. You may borrow fire, she said. Not to win quickly. To keep the boundary. Red Prison Fire arose. Lin Jin took only the part he could bear without letting it command him. The blade in his hand became ash at the edge. White at the spine. Red at the breath. The nameless soul envoy rang behind him. The white bone presence steadied the form. Mirror fate closed the futures where he won by becoming worse than the enemy. He stepped onto the white prison warship. The ship rose through the half-door route. Not leaving the world. Not fully entering the door behind the world. But standing between them like a wedge of human refusal. The Star-Lord pushed down. Lin Jin cut upward. The collision turned the sealed sky white. No one saw the full exchange. Those on the wall saw only flashes. Moon White Blade cutting away inner desire before it could become corruption. Red Prison Fire burning the true star pressure. Ash Blade intent marking a human line. And the white prison warship taking damage meant for the city. The Star-Lord's half-descended body shuddered. For the first time, its pressure moved backward. Not far. Not enough. But backward. Chen Beixuan saw it and did not waste the moment. All cities. Final synchronized fire. The Alliance answered. The barrage rose from every direction. It carried no elegance. It was rough. Overcharged. Badly aligned in places. And full of the exhaustion of people who had learned cooperation under disaster rather than in peace. That made it human. It struck the wound Lin Jin had opened. The ninth Star-Lord withdrew its hand. Across the safe zone, the red pressure broke like a tide pulling away from shore. The sealed sky did not collapse. The Star-Lord's half-body retreated into the torn boundary, dragging constellations with it. Its eye remained visible for one final breath. This was not death. Everyone felt that truth. It was retreat. The eye closed. Dawn reached the ninth safe zone through a cracked but living sky. No one cheered at first. People were too tired, too stunned, too aware of the cost. Then one artillery crew from the 10th safe zone began shouting through the channel. The sound spread. 11th curtain teams answered. 13th Watergate defenders pounded metal walls. Shelters opened. Medics cried while counting survivors. Lin Jin stood on the damaged deck of the white prison warship. Swaying. Moon White Blade had vanished back into the inner realm. Red Prison Fire was quiet. The zero-life realm felt deeper. But no longer like a pit beneath him. More like a boundary he had finally named. Bai Shuwan's voice came through the record channel. Confirmed. Ninth Star-Lord main body will has retreated. Not destroyed. Retreated. Chen Beixuan answered. Write it exactly. I am. Lin Jin looked at the rising light over the ninth safe zone. Walls were cracked. Roots were wounded. The white prison warship needed repair. The Alliance had revealed itself to the world and to the enemy. But the Star-Lord had come down. And humanity had not bowed. That was enough for one dawn. Behind him, Xiaoman opened the half-door to let the first rescue teams through again. Su Wanning leaned against the second ship bone and smiled despite the blood at her lip. Qin Yu sat on a broken cannon and asked whether anyone had saved breakfast. Shen Qingyi's thunder faded into a clear boundary line across the sky. The fifth season of war ended without peace. It ended with a retreating god, a wounded city, and an alliance that now knew it could make the heavens step back.